I come from West Berlin. West Berlin was an island in the communist part of Germany. This was the result of a world war starting in 1993, and four forces, the Allied forces, America, Britain, France and Russia, they went over Germany and they said, we don't want the German state anymore because it's the second time they started the world war. We can't take it anymore, you have to be divided, you have to take your nation apart. So we have peace on earth. So they divided Germany into four parts. One American, English, French, and the Russian part. The Russians were the main power, they took down the capital, and so they got the biggest country, the east side. And the other three were sharing perhaps a bit bigger part of the other half, in West Germany. But also Berlin, the capital, was divided into four quarters, East Berlin and West Berlin. And West Berlin again into these three, British, American, French. In 1948, the Russians started to stop the supply for West Berlin. There was no food anymore, and there was no one allowed to reach West Berlin because West Berlin was like an island in the communist state. But there was an action with aeroplanes called the Luftbrücke, the air bridge. And the fact in the east part was that there was less food and quite strict measures because the communists, the Marxist-Leninist communists, they were quite, I would say, strict. They were dictators, and they were not allowing other meanings. Other opinions were suppressed. And the people couldn't stand it. They escaped to West Germany. They escaped, and it was a threat to the state, because thousands left in a day. They left because they couldn't stand it anymore. They couldn't stand the circumstances. So they left in thousands, making different tricks, hiding in a boot, or digging a tunnel, flying the aeroplane, swimming through the sea. Just to not be under the pressure of the state. This resulted 16 years later in the war. The communists decided to build a wall. A defense, it was a defense system in fact. And they surrounded Berlin with the wall, and also all the frontier in between East and West Germany. And it was a defense system. We had one inner wall on the east side, then another stripe, like 20-30 meters, there was nothing. So if people climb over, you can see everything. And they had dogs there and towers with guards looking down. Many people died. I think 1,024 died at the Berlin Wall. I think 1,024 died there. Because I made a film about some other thing, but I want to come back to this when I talk about the reunification. This took part after I think 28 years of the wall existing, there was pressure now on the state again, because people left. They left in millions or in thousands. They found holes going through other countries, going through Hungary and then to Austria, because there was no war. There was only some defense. They could easier escape. They escaped to Czech Republic. And they were hiding also in the embassies, in German embassies of the city, in the country. Because these Germans were allowed to drive to the socialistic brother states. They were allowed to go to Russia or to Poland or Czech Republic, because they were all on the east side. And it was really like this. Europe was two parts, the east and west. Yeah. So there was this pressure again, thousands ran away. In Russia, Russia was the biggest leader of the socialistic experiment that went on there. Russia already deliberated their laws with Gorbachev and Perestroika. But the Germans, they didn't want it. They said, we want to be strict, we have our wall, and I don't know, they were just very good organized machinery. They spied on everybody, very efficient. When they wanted to spy on someone, they found out everything they wanted to know about him. And then they took what they could turn against him and made him an agent then again, or they were really precise, very, very precise. Yeah. Here, to keep the wall and to keep the strict laws, and there were more and more demonstrations going on in Germany. Thousands went on the street, and there was the slogan, "Wir are the people, wir sind das Volk." And they were negotiating something, and there was one press conference where Jaworski is his name. He was asked by some journalist, "Hey, what was it now about you open the wall?" And he said like, yeah, the people can leave Germany, they can leave the DDR, but the GDR, just by showing your passport. He was completely confused, and he didn't know what to say, and so he just said something. And people heard it on the TV, and they went to the border and said, "Hey, we heard on TV, we can go out." And then they were overwhelming the police, because they had what's the TV, and the first went out, and more and more came, and yeah, this was the fall of the wall. Which I on this day, in the evening, I saw it on the TV, and I thought, oh, what's happening? Like they make April Fools in November. I couldn't believe it, really. I thought the TV is some fun program. Because for me it was a reality. I was born on this island, so for me I knew nothing else. But for me it was okay. I go through the street and suddenly I see the end of the street, but on the street there's a wall, and it was just normal, you know, my surrounding, my neighborhood, my environment. And when I went abroad, people said, "Oh, you poor boy, you live in the city surrounded by water." I said, "What do you want? I live at home." Because I was like, strange. Yeah, the situation was very interesting, you know, especially when I look back that when we wanted to go to my grandma, she was living in Bochum, 600 kilometers away. When we wanted to visit them, we had to go first 300 kilometers to the GDR, which meant first border control, really strict border control with passport and stopping and controlling the car, and when you go out, do it again, standing in a queue and wait, and it was quite a procedure. This was quite interesting. This system also was in Berlin. In Berlin we had the subway going through the east part. This was the west line, the western subway line, going through the east part of Berlin. There were then dead stations, just nothing happening. Sometimes a soldier with a gun, and yeah. At one line you couldn't get out at any station, and at one line there was the train station Friedrichstraße, and there you could go out of the subway or go out of the regional train and change from regional trains to subway or enter the GDR. And because of that, entering the GDR or going out, there were lots of tax-free shops everywhere on every platform. There were 2 or 3 tax-free shops where the GDR they sold cigarettes and alcohol tax-free, very cheap. So people took the opportunity to buy cheap cigarettes. Yeah. But when the wall opened, I went over to East Berlin. In April 90, I moved to Prenzlauer Berg. And it was completely rotten environment. I was living a bit like here in Nigeria, you know. I had my house, I had no windows, I had no flat doors. And then to carry up my water, I had to go out for the toilet. So this reminds me very much of the time. I want to show you a film now. The film from the time, this was as a TV broadcast from 1996, because we spotted a house in East Berlin, a big house, and there were lots of people, and we had cultural funding even. We won a prize for the city image. So one day I decided to make this TV program called Live from the Sub-Proletarian. But perhaps you can imagine, if you live like a Nigerian in Germany, then you are really sub-proletarian, under the proletarians. I think they could come from south. This is our house where we live. You can see what was going on and what kind of environment we live in. zum Folgen. Ja. Der Müller mehr Arbeit. And it was an amazing time when I came over the wall. There were loads of crazy artists and incredible happenings took place because the Eastern Germany state was gone and the other wasn't there. So there was a vacuum which attracted loads of people to do what they always wanted. Like one opened a vegetable shop in one flat, or we made a pub with music. We made galleries, quite a lot of galleries and art houses. We had 5 or 6 houses where we only made art, we only squatted for art. Ours was half squatted of artists.
Okay,
so there was quite a freedom after the fall of the wall in this one part. And if you have lots of freedom, then you also have lots of madmen coming up. So you all have to learn to really handle freedom.
Okay, thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. Okay, actually, for today, we want to know about the wall and the war. And as presented, we want to find out, in case you have questions, specific questions. Amapi is here. We have some other people here too, that we also we can deliberate together, so that we want to know more. As Nigerians, we want to know about the war and the world. So if you have any questions, you can raise up your hands and ask the question.
We've heard different things. We've seen various documentaries, movies that highlight some certain things about the war back then, and then especially about Adolf Hitler. But yeah, I just want to ask basically about him. What was his course like for Germany back then? Was it something, because nothing can be as being like experiencing something, but we have a different thing. So when you were there, you experienced it. What was it about Adolf Hitler back then, his course, the war and everything?
He was a poor guy. He was a really poor guy in I think 1912 or something. I opened, in Vienna. He was living homeless. He was also very often beaten by his father, which I think was also not so good for him. He was, like I said, he was a very poor guy. He had a hard youth, and he was rejected from art school. He showed the pictures, and somehow he thought he's quite a really good guy, great guy, and how can they suppress him? You know, how can the leading people not let him up? And he got very angry with this situation. I think, well, there was probably a lot of other things coming to it. He was intelligent, psychology, and he was able to express confidence. He was always like this. If you see the early pictures in the 20s or 20s, early 30s, it's very interesting. But I think, how he came to it was some crisis in his youth. And then he had the opportunity to do what he was doing.
Okay, I think we all understand the response. Well, he mentioned some things that I wrote down. He talked about homelessness, his homelessness. How many of us have had it before? Hitler? Okay, almost everyone. So, that's the lesson. I mean, he was homeless, not only that, he was beaten severally by his father. And he was so good and tough that...
He was rejected from art school. He was always painting, postcards.
Okay, and he beat, I think he beat the teacher at times.
No, he was beaten by his father.
Oh, his father, okay.
He had hard childhood.
Yeah, so eventually he said something that is very important. He was given the opportunity to express the purpose, to really get out what was in his mind. So that's actually the area where if he had all those things in mind and was not given the opportunity, maybe we would never have had the history. Okay, another question, please. Yes.
At the unification of Germany, after the war, what happened to the world? After the war, what happened to the world?
Okay.
The war got sold. It got sold in pieces. For example, to land, to farmers. But also on the west side, there were nice painted. Lots of people just painted amazing paintings, works. Amazing works, like Thierry Noir. He got famous because he was a wall painter. Another guy, Indiana, he's called. There's some pieces now in the East Gallery. Eastern Gallery is a part of the Berlin Wall, which is still existing. But it's every segment is made into an artwork. They invited artists to describe the situation with art. And then you find in some places, like in front of some parliaments, you find a piece of the wall on Potsdam Platz. There's one standing because it's nice painted. Yeah.
So I want us to understand the wall came and then the wall. W-A-R came, war. And after the war, there was I think we said 16 years later.
Yes, the main wall.
Yeah. So the war now came, which especially in Berlin. In Berlin, we have a wall that divided the whole city. Can you just imagine a city divided by a wall? And some people on this side, some people on this side, and they don't have access one to the other. So that is something that cannot never be forgotten in history. It came after the war. W-A-R. Yes, somebody was raising up. Yes.
Was there a time during the war that they had to go against Hitler because they see that his method is to the extreme? Let me say to the extreme. Or did they just go on that if I don't do this, I'm going to get killed? So I have to do this.
It was that Germany, Hitler attacked. First they attacked Poland, then he attacked France. He wants to attack UK. And then he went on the Balkans and to Russia. Yeah. So he attacked almost everybody. And then the United States lost some ships in the sea battles, but they did not go into war. I think only in 1941 when they lost some really. In 1941 the USA just joined without being attacked.
Look, this is why it's called the World War. Actually, Hitler wants to dominate the whole world. That's just the thing. And he started to penetrate into different countries. He had a plan. I mean, he had a plan for several years. And when he has finished his plan, he came out full force. So France got his own lot. UK got his own lot. It was when UK saw that there was a problem, they came to the countries that colonized, and Nigeria is one of them. So please come and help us. So that's why some soldiers were deployed from here to join them so that they can fight against the army of Hitler. The same thing with France. France also went to the French-speaking countries, come and help us. Hitler is about to finish us. Come. And then they also sent soldiers there. And in fact, some soldiers were sent to USSR, and by the time you overcome France, and you get Poland, and you get UK, and I mean, what are you talking about? By the time, that means you have gotten the whole of Europe, and just as he said, America is also thinking, hey, if you got Europe, America is going to be in trouble. Because if the whole of Europe is under his control, then there is trouble already. It will be easier for him to just send whatever there and finish them and be in control of everything. So as the war started, people began to see what there is a problem. There is a problem, but you know, when you are in the spirit of war, if you look back, you are going to be destroyed. The war has started already, so there is no looking back until we win. So that spirit of we have started and we must win is there too. So everybody, in fact, when the soldiers have died, a lot of soldiers, the youth were drafted into the thing. They were trained to fight. And as many people as possible, I think the women were even drafted to the thing, to fight. So that, let's finish it, it's just a step forward, but we win. And before you know it, they were great, but France, UK, America were also doing their own planning that this guy will not overcome us. And eventually, they succeeded and was brought under control.
I still have another question.
Okay.
He had to overcome his main plan when he started was, okay, fine, I have to penetrate and win and control the whole world.
Yes.
So that means he would have followers in different countries at that particular time.
No. He was marching his army down to each of those countries.
So he had no followers?
No. He was going just like, God forbid, that if you just hear that the Ghanaians are coming and they want to take over Nigeria. Yeah, something like that. And at the border, you see that they are penetrating and chasing everybody away, and they are running. And the more they are running inside, the more the army of the soldiers are following them. So the territory they take, they will host their flag. So they are taking that part, gone. So they keep on advancing.
Soldiers. But that's why they went to war. That's why they were so fast.
Okay, they were doping the
Soldiers.
Yeah. So the energy is there, so they just keep marching. They kept marching, and if they take a fraction, they put their flag, and the government of that country will be shaking and say, "Let me draft people so that they can chase them away, because if you don't chase them away, they will take the whole country, and once the country is taken, they go to another one, they go to another one, they put their government in this. I mean, it's terrible.
There's a way the past affects the present, and there's a way to surely affect the future. How has this world moved? As in, how is it affecting the present state of Germany, and how is it going to, as in, how is it affecting the economy now, the economy of Germany? Because I believe at that time, Germany would have been Germany was a very great country that was enjoying some benefits with the other great world partners now. What is the effect, the economic effect on Germany as we speak at this time?
Remember the Solidaritätsbeitrag, the solidarity Beitrag, the fee. Solidarity fee everybody has to pay. It's still in Germany, but this was found in, I think, 1990 or 1991, that everybody has to pay a special tax for the East German East German reconstruction. But today, in East Germany, we still have quite a lot of unemployed people. The people, they leave the country. The villages are only full of old people. And only some centers like Jena or what else, Dresden, these are like more rich parts of East Germany. But this is still affecting. Also, as far as I know, still East German workers get less money than West German workers, because it's also cheaper in the East German part. Yeah, something else. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, so I'd like to add to that. After the war, the Germans became so, the country was down. Things were bad, terribly bad. But there was the consciousness that we have to reconstruct this nation. One thing I noticed about Germany, immediately you enter Germany and you stay with them, once you will notice about them is that they are hard working. Terribly hard work. They work terribly hard. I mean, you can ask them after that. They work terribly hard. And because of the war, they saw that the nation was being reconstructed. So they joined their hands together, they started working like anything. And if you suffer in life, you are likely going to be better in life. If you enjoy all your life, I pray you will not have any negative experience, you will not really be able to stand tall to the challenges. So Germany woke up and stood up to the challenge, and eventually they became so hardworking. And if you are working with a German, either as a student or a worker, you will know they are very hardworking, very hardworking. Any kind of work. If they ask you to clean this wall, you will clean this wall. They can ask you to clean for 8 hours. You will get big money, but you will clean it, the thing will shine. And if you do one small cleaning, you do it again. They don't think about the money. Do it, let it shine, let the original color come out. You will sweat on your feet for 8 hours, and you will do it. But when you finish doing it, you get heavily paid. You go home, you eat fine, and you jump on your bed and you sleep like a dog. Oh, that's it. Now, so that is just, I believe the hard work really built up the nation. And today, as we are talking, Germany is the backbone of Europe. Financially, economically, any area, just think about it. And the scholarship I got from Germany, I never got it even in my own country. They have the money. And education is even free as we are talking now, for both foreigners and citizens. So the country is so powerful economically, and one would like to link it to the hard work, and personally too, I think if one works hard, it will be hard, but if you work hard, you eventually get there. There are some other people that were brought in from other countries to come and help them, but generally speaking, the Germans are hard workers, and they still work very hard till today.
I just want to ask, is there a possibility that Germany can reach another world war? Because I believe after Hitler's death, there will still be some people that will believe in this cause, like Nigeria, Biafra, wherever. After Oju's death, some people still believe that Biafra should be a country also. So is there a possibility or are there signs that Germany can actually reach another world in the future?
I hope not. There are some people that are currently still, like, they still like what Hitler did, but it's a minority, and I think our governmental system is too strong to be overthrown.
Yes. So, thank you. The system of the government as at the time Hitler did what he did, you know, it was like he had the opportunity, that system of the government allowed him to take unilateral decision. But now, before you take decision, it has to pass through these people, this committee, these other arm of the government, this other arm of the government. All these arm of the government cannot close their eyes and allow such things to happen anymore. Because they looked at it, what caused it? How come Hitler grabbed all of us and he drew all of us up like that and we are all following him? That system of the government. So everything is changed now. Even if you want to do, even if you are stronger 2 times, 10 times stronger than Hitler, if you get to government now, the system of the government on ground will suppress you. You won't be able to raise up your head, to manipulate, to hypnotize the whole nation like that.
Et là déjà nous avons le thème, la guerre dont on doit parler ce soir, mais plus précisément la guerre en Côte d'Ivoire.
So we see the war in Ivory Coast.
Avec la carte de la Côte d'Ivoire et notre symbole qui est l'éléphant.
With map of Ivory Coast and the symbol.
Ok, rapidement, je vais vous présenter notre sommaire. Je vais faire rapidement l'historique de la Côte d'Ivoire.
I want to talk about history,
le début de la guerre,
the beginning of the conflict,
le putsch de 1999, le coup d'État.
the push of the coup d'État of 1999.
Ensuite, le coup d'État du 19 septembre 2002, un coup d'État qui a été manqué.
And then in 2002, there was a coup d'État that failed.
Et enfin, la présidentielle des élections de 2010.
So then we have October 2010, the presidential election.
Ok, juste avant de commencer, nous allons passer par la présentation des hommes politiques de mon pays.
So what to start with politics of the country Ivory Coast.
Ok, là vous avez le général Guy Robert.
That is the General Guy Robert.
Ici, vous avez le président Félix Houphouët-Boigny, le président fondateur de la Côte d'Ivoire, le tout premier président de la Côte d'Ivoire.
This is the president of Ivory. In fact, is the president that founded Ivory Coast. Houphouët-Boigny.
Ensuite, vous avez le premier opposant à Houphouët-Boigny, Laurent Gbagbo.
And that's Laurent Gbagbo, who was the first opposition. Laurent Gbagbo. Laurent Gbagbo.
Et enfin, Henri Konan Bédier.
And this is Guy.
Ok, nous avons ces 4 hommes politiques, ces 4 hommes qui ont marqué la politique en Côte d'Ivoire.
These are 4 people that are significant in the politics of Ivory Coast.
Ok, historique, l'indépendance de la Côte d'Ivoire. L'indépendance de la Côte d'Ivoire a pris son indépendance le 7 août 1960.
In 1960, we had independence.
Un pays colonisé par la France, bien sûr.
The country that was colonized by France.
Au-delà de notre indépendance, nous avons le multipartisme qui est né en Côte d'Ivoire.
We have these parties in Ivory Coast.
Ok, nous avons le tout premier parti qui est le PDCI-RDA, qui est le parti du père fondateur Félix Houphouët-Boigny.
The first party in green is Houphouët-Boigny's party.
Et le deuxième parti qui naît en 1990 par le professeur Laurent Gbagbo.
And then the second one is the one that was founded by Laurent Gbagbo.
Ok, donc des précisions sur le président de la République, c'est un médecin qui a fait ses études en France. Ofeboigny.
Ofeboigny did his school studies in France.
Ensuite, Laurent Gbagbo, qui est un professeur d'histoire-géographie à l'université Félix Ofeboigny de Côte d'Ivoire.
Ofeboigny did his own study in Côte d'Ivoire.
Ok, le début de la guerre en Côte d'Ivoire. Nous avons la mort du président Félix Ofeboigny en 1993.
So, Félix Ofeboigny died in 1993.
1993. Yes.
93, that's 93.
Yes, effectivement. Après sa mort, il y avait une guerre pour la succession au pouvoir.
After his death, there was fight to find out a way to succeed him.
En Côte d'Ivoire, la Constitution dit lorsque le président est out, lorsqu'il est décédé, il sera remplacé par le président de l'Assemblée nationale. Mais 3 jours après,
okay, there is a rule in Ivory Coast that if the president dies, the National Assembly president will succeed him 3 days after the death of the president.
Mais le premier problème en Côte d'Ivoire, c'est que après sa mort, automatiquement, 1 jour après, le président de l'Assemblée nationale est venu occuper le pouvoir.
The law says 3 days after the death of the president, but in this case, after Ofeboigny died, a day after his death, the president of the National Assembly came up to be the president.
Ok, donc c'est ça le premier conflit. Ça le met en conflit avec le premier ministre qui était Alassane Dramane Ouattara qu'on a vu tout à l'heure.
That is where the first problem started. The law says 3 days after the first day the man came up. That was the problem.
Ok, après que le président Henri Konan Bédié, le président de l'Assemblée nationale, ait pris la Côte d'Ivoire,
after the president of the National Assembly came to the power, his name is Guy Robert.
Non, le président Henri Konan Bédié, quand il vient au pouvoir, président de l'Assemblée nationale,
okay, the president of the National Assembly, when he came to power,
il chasse le président Guy Robert, le général Guy Robert, qui était chef d'état-major.
Okay, he sent away Guy Robert, who was the captain, the chief commander of the armed forces in the country.
Il chasse aussi le premier ministre qui était Alassane Dramane Ouattara.
He also sent away the prime minister, trying to send away all the people that were opposing. He sent all of them away.
Donc voilà comment est-ce que la première guerre a commencé en Côte d'Ivoire.
That is how the war started in Ivory Coast.
Ok. Le président Alassane Ouattara, étant premier ministre, s'est retiré et est allé créer un parti qu'on appelle le RDR.
Alassane Ouattara went to start his own party. That's called LDR.
Dans les années 1999, il y a le coup d'État du général Guy Robert.
And then in 1999, there was a coup d'État by Guy Robert.
Ok, Guy Robert organise les élections en 2000.
So Guy Robert arranged for an election in 2000.
Et qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Il écarte encore le président, l'ancien premier ministre Alassane Dramane Ouattara. Il écarte le président de l'Assemblée nationale, Bédié. Et il se présente avec Laurent Gbagbo. Les deux se présentent aux élections.
So Laurent Gbagbo and Robert presented themselves for the election.
Okay.
The other people already eliminated and put aside.
Et ça crée la division en Côte d'Ivoire.
And that is what created the division in Ivory Coast.
Et cette première division emmène le fait qu'en 99, en 2002, il y a eu un coup d'État qui a été manqué. Après les élections de 2000, Laurent Gbagbo est élu président de la République.
Laurent Gbagbo was elected in 2000 as the president after the election.
2010.
2010, okay.
Ok. 2 ans après, en 2002, un coup d'État qui est manqué.
And then 2002, there was a coup d'État that failed.
Ok. Pendant que le président Laurent Gbagbo était en Italie en voyage, on fait le coup d'État.
Gbagbo was in Italy enjoying himself there, and then there was a coup d'État here in Ivory Coast.
Ok, quand le coup d'État est manqué, le pays est divisé en haut. En haut pour les rebelles et en bas pour les forces loyalistes.
Okay, so because the coup d'État failed, the country was divided into two. Some, the people up there, they are against the government, and the people down there, the loyalists to the government.
Donc de 2002 à 2008, nous avons des négociations à Marcoussis. Marcoussis c'est en France.
Okay, so from 2008, there was this agreement of Marcoussis in Lomé. Marcus's
en France.
In France, yes.
Et on a les accords de Lomé 1, 2, 3.
And then we have the Lomé Accord 1, 2, 3.
Nous arrivons en 2010. En 2010, où nous organisons les élections.
So in 2010, there was the election.
Tout le monde est permis d'être candidat aux élections.
Everybody was allowed to show his interest to become president.
Et le président élu est M. Alassane Dramane Ouattara, l'ancien premier ministre, premier président Félix Houphouët-Boigny.
And Alassane Ouattara, who was the prime minister of Houphouët-Boigny, was elected.
Yes.
Was elected.
Ok, pour 2010.
For 2010.
Après l'élection, nous avons une petite crise post-électorale qui va durer 5 mois.
And then after the election, 5 months after, there was serious crisis.
Alassane Ouattara reconnaît sa victoire et pendant que Laurent Gbagbo s'oppose à la victoire de Alassane Ouattara.
Alassane Ouattara, he accepted the victory, but Laurent Gbagbo said he didn't win. He was only the protest.
Donc cela amène à une crise postorale qui va durer 5 mois.
So that's why 5 months there was crisis. There were crises in Ivory Coast.
Il y a la guerre en Côte d'Ivoire.
There was war in Ivory Coast.
La Côte d'Ivoire est divisée.
The Ivory Coast was divided.
Jusqu'à ce que le 11 avril 2011, Laurent Gbagbo soit capturé.
Until 2011, when Laurent Gbagbo was captured.
Capturé et déporté à la CPI.
And he was sent to where?
CPI, Cour pénale internationale.
Ah, okay, he was sent to international body, kind of criminal for committing the crime of war against the people.
Où il est présentement. Donc, brièvement,
that is where he is up to now.
Brièvement, je pense que c'est ça, vu que j'ai déjà passé les 10 minutes pour parler un peu de l'histoire et de la guerre dans mon pays. C'est un peu ça, pour ceux qui ont des questions, on pourra plus les éclaircir.
Okay, in short, that's just the summary of what I want to present.
Ok, donc c'est la fin, finalement, pour une fin.
So, let's put our hands together for him. Okay, very short. We want to find out if we have questions. He has presented how the war came and what caused it. Let's see if we have questions with you. I want us to think, what is the cause of the war in Ivory Coast? From my own point of view, if you know anything about Félix Houphouët-Boigny, who knows anything about him? Yes. How many years was he there as president?
I remember, but a long time.
He has always been the person I've been hearing since I was born as the president of Ivory Coast until recently. He has always been the president until recently. So I remember even while he was no more active, there were supporters that were there doing the ruling of the country for him. And the truth is, immediately he departed like this, there was struggle for the position. There was struggle. So that's actually, if you look at it very well, somebody that's supposed to become the president 3 days after, he jumped there just 1 day, contrary to the law given by their constitution. So maybe he was thinking, if I wait for 3 days, fire will fall, another person will jump there and take it off. So, and the man was there. Let's ask him. Le président Houphouët-Boigny, il était là pour combien d'années?
Le président d'année depuis 1960. Depuis 1960 à 1993.
So he was there from 1960 to 1993. That is 1993. 1993. Yes. From 1960 to 1993. How many years? That's 33 years. So that's 33 years. So I didn't know the total number, but one thing I know since I became a human being that will listen to news. I've always been hearing Houphouët-Boigny. Now I know. I was born in 1966, so it was there 6 years before I was born. And he stayed there till 1993. So that's the problem. So by the time he left, in fact, so many people have been watching that position many years. So if he leaves, and if you enter and stay there, you're also going to stay for 33 years. I mean, so everybody wants to get there. Yes.
Oui, il est mort sur le pouvoir.
Okay, that's another information. He died on the thing there.
he died there as the president.
Maintenant, ce que je voulais préciser, je ne sais pas si vous avez compris, je voulais préciser quelque chose. Vous savez, Félix Houphouët-Boigny, c'est lui qui a lutté l'indépendance en Côte d'Ivoire. On n'avait pas d'opposant jusqu'en 1990, 3 ans avant sa mort. Voilà, donc c'est pas parce qu'il a été un président dictateur.
Okay. He said something very important. He said, this man is the one that fought, Houphouët-Boigny is the one that fought for the freedom and independence of the country. And while he was there, he didn't have opposition. Everybody accepted him as the president. Sincerely speaking, I didn't know this before today. So he was accepted as the president. The opposition came, the fighting came after his death. You know, but as Africans,
3 ans avant sa mort, en 1990,
yeah. So,
opposition.
So 3 years after his death, then opposition started. But sincerely speaking, as Africans, when somebody fought for us, we respect them. But when it comes to democracy, it's another thing. A country where there's no democracy will one day go into this kind of problem and go to war. I know another country. I don't know if you have heard of it. It's Timbanda. Esteban was there. He was blind and he was still the president. Yes. Esteban, go and read something about Esteban. He was blind and he was still the president. He could not do anything, but all the people around him were doing it, and he was the president. I don't even know if he's dead now. Which country? I can't remember the country. If you go to Esteban, blind president, and he was still ruling. Maybe it's the same thing that happened in Ivory Coast, that maybe he's one of the fighting warriors, I mean the great people that gave them independence, and eventually, I don't know, by the time he dies, I don't know what will happen in that country, because there is already the mentality that if you are there, you are going to be there until you die, and who does not want to enjoy until he dies?
Zimbabwe, and Robert Mugabe is there.
That's another great person, Robert Mugabe. I don't know how many times you have heard that name, but you must have been hearing since you came to this world. Okay, he said there's a great difference between Robert Mugabe and Félix Houphouët-Boigny.
Félix Houphouët-Boigny, jusqu'en 1990, il n'y avait pas d'opposant. Jusqu'en 1990, il n'y avait pas d'opposant en Côte d'Ivoire.
Until 1990, there was no opposition against Houphouët-Boigny.
De 1960, l'indépendance de la Côte d'Ivoire, à 1990, il n'y avait pas d'opposant.
1960 to 1990, no opposition.
Ok, là on est d'accord. Il meurt en 1993.
He died in 1993.
Died?
Yes, he died then.
Ok.
Avec D. Died, yes.
Il meurt en 93.
Ouais. Donc, 1993, he died.
Entre 93 et 90,
from 1990 to 1993,
on a le premier parti politique qui naît ici.
So the first political party was formed.
FPI.
FPI.
FBI. Popular Front.
Okay. Ivorian Popular Front.
Ok, de Laurent Gbagbo qui est aujourd'hui à la CPI.
So it's Laurent Gbagbo that is at the end of this one.
Bismarck.
Yes.
Bismarck.
Yes. Okay.
Donc vous voyez, jusqu'à ce qu'il soit là, en 91, il permet qu'il y ait un parti politique. Félix Houphouët a permis qu'il y ait un parti politique.
Okay, he wanted political party to come up. He allowed it.
Ok, et les élections seront organisées en 1995.
So in 1995 there was an election.
Et il meurt en 93.
And he died in 1993.
Voilà, donc déjà c'est la différence entre Félix Houphouët-Boigny et Robert Mugabe. Parce que Robert Mugabe, la différence entre lui et Félix Houphouët-Boigny, les élections organisées avec Robert Mugabe n'existent même pas.
Okay, in the case of Mugabe, the election that he said he did not actually exist. In essence, he's trying to say Houphouët-Boigny organized, he allowed it, though nobody came up until after his death. But in the case of Mugabe, there is a little bit of here and there.
Donc voilà si je peux répondre à sa question déjà.
Yeah.
C'est un exemple en Afrique occidentale, Félix Houphouët-Boigny. C'est un modèle. Il est le deuxième comparé à Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela.
Okay, so in fact, it's good that we are seeing it from the eye of the Ivory Coast themselves. He's saying that he's a model. Let's put our hands together for
Ils ont l'indépendance